Before we begin, I invite you to gently close your ears and focus on what remains when all external sounds fade away. It's like sitting in a quiet room, and after a while, you notice a subtle ringing or hum beneath the silence. If you listen closely, you'll start to experience this soft, constant presence, something that feels like the very fabric of reality itself. In quantum physics, it's said that everything is connected at the most fundamental level, and that everything we see is just a manifestation of deeper, unseen energy. What you are hearing, or rather feeling, is that same energy, that same field of potential. This subtle ringing is what we call the sound of silence. It's not just an abstract concept or some external force. It's the very essence of you. Everything we discuss in this session and the ones to come will be about this sound of silence. It is not something separate or different from you. It is you. This exploration is about realizing that the sound of silence is your own inner being, your most fundamental nature, the stillness from which all life arises. You are that, the very presence behind everything. When we talk about happiness, it is important to understand that happiness is not something that can be chased or obtained through external circumstances alone. In fact, happiness is not even something we should treat as a fleeting emotion to be captured and held on to. In the rush of our daily lives, we often find ourselves seeking happiness outside of ourselves, through things, through people, or through experiences. But what we fail to realize is that happiness in its truest form comes from a deep understanding of who we are and how we are connected to the world around us. It's not something that can be manufactured or faked. Happiness is not found in accomplishments or possessions, but in understanding the nature of our existence and our relationship with the world. In this quest for happiness, we must shift our mindset away from the concept that happiness is an external goal to be achieved. Instead, we should realize that happiness is a byproduct of a deeper state of being, an inner peace that arises when we understand and embrace our connection to everything around us. This deeper understanding involves realizing that we are not isolated beings living separate lives in a world full of random events. Rather, we are part of a vast, interconnected web of life where everything is interdependent. In this interconnectedness lies a profound sense of peace and happiness. When we understand that our existence is intertwined with the natural world, we begin to see life from a more expansive and inclusive perspective. We stop viewing the world as something separate from us, and instead we see ourselves as part of the whole. Let's take a moment to consider the nature of the body we inhabit. As human beings, we tend to view our bodies as individual entities. We see them as personal, private, and unique to ourselves. While this is certainly true in many ways, we often forget that our bodies are not self-contained. They are not autonomous. They are intricately linked to the world around us. Our bodies are made up of the same elements as the earth: water, air, minerals, and energy. These elements flow through us, sustain us, and give us life. Without nature, without the world that surrounds us, our bodies could not survive. It is nature that sustains us and nature that has shaped us into the beings we are today. From the moment we are born, our bodies are shaped by the natural world. We are nurtured by the air we breathe, the food we consume, and the water we drink. These basic elements are not ours to control. They are gifts from the earth, from the universe, and we are completely dependent on them. In fact, we are so deeply intertwined with the natural world that we cannot exist without it. The human body is a miracle of nature, a complex organism that cannot survive in isolation. We are not independent from nature. We are nature. Now, let's think about the way we perceive the world. Most of us live our lives with the belief that we are separate from the world around us. We go about our days as if we are distinct from nature, from others, and from everything else in existence. But this perception is fundamentally flawed. The idea of separation is an illusion that we have created in our minds. In reality, we are all part of one vast, interconnected whole. The air we breathe, the food we eat, the water we drink, all of these things are shared by every living being on this planet. We are not separate from nature. We are not separate from the trees, the animals, the oceans, or the mountains. We are part of it all. And when we embrace this truth, we begin to experience a deep sense of unity and oneness with the world around us. This realization is liberating. When we understand that we are not separate, we stop fighting against the world. We stop viewing ourselves as isolated individuals who must constantly strive to control our environment. Instead, we learn to flow with life, to embrace the natural rhythms of the world.